Live from downtown Bakersfield, 23 ABC News starts now.
Super Tuesday in the rearview mirror. Now all eyes waiting for the results to be certified. We'll have the latest numbers from Tuesday and the change in the race for the Democratic nomination for president.
And some people in Los Angeles heading to the polls for Super Tuesday had to wait hours to vote. We have details on what caused those long lines.
And coming up, we'll show you how Kern County voted on the Democratic candidate for president.
And good morning once again. Thanks for staying with 23 ABC News at 6:30 on this day after Super Tuesday. Mike Hart.
I'm Danielle Kernkamp. Let's bring in CHP Officer Robert Rodriguez to get started with a look at the traffic on those roadways this morning. Robert?
Thank you very much, Danielle. Good morning, everybody. Through Bakersfield, things are looking pretty good and have been all morning long. We still have that one incident out near the Lamont area, and again, that's going to be off of Buena Vista Boulevard, just east of Adobe Road. So again, it's a solo vehicle that rolled over. It's off the roadway there. Again, minor injuries. And then for those of you who are making your travels out of town, again, right now, those major routes are also in pretty good shape. That's my look at traffic. Elena, we'll send it back to you.
All right, thank you so much, Robert. And here's another look at our sunrise this morning. My director, Robin, telling me it's an egg yolk. And I like that. It's so nice for breakfast at this hour, right? High, thin clouds coming through. You see a jet with its contrail off in the distance. So it's calm and quiet and cold. 48 here in Bakersfield, but that's above average. We've just now fallen to the 40s in Arvin after being in the 50s all morning. You're still seeing some 50s out there in Keene and Lebec, even Jawbone Canyon and Ridgecrest at this hour. Those temperatures well above average already. Even though they're still jacket weather, we continue to climb heading into this afternoon. That 82 in Bakersfield, that's 15 degrees higher than our typical 67 for the state. 67 is your high in Fraser Park and Tehachapi, 77 in Kernville, and you see 76 down in Cal City, Rosamond, and Edwards Air Force Base this afternoon. So we've been talking about the time change. On Sunday, we will be springing forward an hour. So on Saturday, the sun is up about 6:15, sets about 6. But then suddenly, as we are springing forward, the sun won't come up until 7:15 on Sunday, but it'll stay up until about 7 p.m. that night.
In election news, former Vice President Joe Biden had a very big night with Super Tuesday victories in states across the South and beyond, while Bernie Sanders appears to be ahead in delegate-rich California.
These stakes could not be higher as the Democratic contest for president is now poised to become a two-man race that's likely to drag on for weeks. Here's ABC's Ines de la Catera.
Overnight, Joe Biden making a remarkable comeback.
They don't call Super Tuesday for nothing.
With some states still too close to call, the former vice president sweeping the South, winning at least 9 states on Super Tuesday.
I think Joe has the track record of unification across the aisle, and I think that's really key right now.
After a series of early losses, Biden getting a last-minute surge from his landslide victory in South Carolina and from Pete Buttigieg and Amy Klobuchar, who endorsed him after they dropped out.
We're told, well, when you got to Super Tuesday, it'd be over. Well, it may be over for the other guy.
But it's still far from over for that other guy. Bernie Sanders went into this as the front runner and racked up big numbers in California, Colorado, Utah, and Vermont. Voters came out in droves, some in Texas waiting more than 3 hours to vote, Utah breaking records, and in Virginia, turnout was almost double what it was in 2016. Super Tuesday was also the first time Mike Bloomberg was on the ballot, and while he did get his first delegates, the former mayor failed to win any states. And the same goes for Elizabeth Warren. Both are now facing calls to drop out.
I know we can do it, and you know who else knows it? Donald Trump.
Bloomberg and Warren are both looking past Super Tuesday. They spent the night campaigning in states that will be holding some of the next big voting contests in a week. Ines de la Catera, ABC News, Washington.
And Senator Bernie Sanders' win here in California mirrored the Democratic candidate that Kern County voters chose as well. Early results show that Sanders came out on top for the Democratic Party here in Kern County. California voters have chosen Bernie Sanders.
And that's me.
The Vermont senator projected to take the Golden State the biggest Super Tuesday prize.
But we're going to win because the people understand it is our campaign, our movement. which is best positioned to defeat Trump.
The projection of Sanders' win came immediately as the polls closed at 8 p.m., even as many voters remained in line. The Sanders campaign stop in Kern County paid off too. After rallying voters here in Bakersfield just last month,
We cannot continue to have a corrupt administration.
Kern County voters mirrored the choice of California and picked Sanders as the Democratic candidate. Unofficial results show Sanders took 33% in Kern County, former Vice President Joe Biden following with about 27%. Sanders celebrated Super Tuesday with supporters in his home state of Vermont as results rolled in.
I tell you with absolute confidence, we are going to win the Democratic nomination, and we are going to defeat the most dangerous president in the history of this country.
Last night, Sanders on Twitter saying, "Thank you, California. You showed that Americans are ready for a government and economy that works for all of us, not just the 1%. Let's go forward together."
In state news, Super Tuesday voters waited in long lines for hours before casting their ballots at some voting centers in LA County. Voters reported long wait times and operational errors as they cast their ballots in person. Local voting officials blamed those delays on a combination of high turnout and glitches impacting new equipment.
The reality is that the voting system that we had before this election was outdated. It was decertified by the Secretary of State, and if you go back to the primary in 2018, we struggled with that system as well. So it was important and necessary to move forward with a new voting model in LA County, and it will get better.
This is the first time LA County has had a fully redesigned election system in more than a half century. The new centers may have debuted with touchscreen devices, but they created 3-hour wait times. Senator Sanders filed an emergency motion to keep those polls open an extra 2 hours, but no action was taken by the courts.
Now taking a look at the local races for congressional seats. In the 23rd District, Republican incumbent Kevin McCarthy, who's also currently the House Minority Leader, was up against Democratic candidate Kim Mangone. With 100% of precincts now reporting, McCarthy took home 70% of the vote. Mangone finished with 30%.
District 21, 4 candidates on the ballot. TJ Cox, the incumbent, running against former Congressman, the man he unseated, David Valadao. Valadao with 53% of the vote to 36%. Also Rocky De La Fuente and Ricardo De La Fuente also on the ballot. Valadao once again earning 53% of the vote. Cox with 36%. Valadao and Cox will square off again in the general election this November. Now, Valadao went on to make this statement following last night's results, writing, quote, "I'm honored to have earned the vote of so many voters across the Central Valley. We built a coalition of Democrats, Republicans, and no party preference voters throughout Fresno, Kern, Kings, and Tulare counties who are ready to have Congress start working for them again." He went on to say, "From water to trade to the economy, everywhere I go, voters want politicians to put aside the partisan fights and get to work on the issues that matter."
Congressman TJ Cox also releasing a statement saying, quote, "I want to thank my tireless supporters and volunteers who are waging this campaign just as hard as I'm fighting for working Valley families. Thank you to my wife, Kathy, who inspires me every day, and to my kids and the kids of the Central Valley, whose bright futures make this work worth it," end quote. And as those running from races for state assembly, we start with the race for District 32. Democratic incumbent Rudy Salas ran against Republican Todd Cotta. With 100% of precincts reporting, unofficial results show Salas earned just under 55% of the vote. Cotta received 45%.
Meantime, the 34th Assembly District, the incumbent Vince Fong going head-to-head with Democratic candidate Julie Solis. All precincts in, and Vince Fong earning 75% of the vote. And he's talked to 23 ABC afterwards about what it all means.
It's certainly humbling that so many voters have felt that I've done, a good enough job of defending Kern County, but we have a lot of work to do. The fact that this election has been so successful for us, we go to November, so we're going to keep campaigning hard to get out our message.
Now to Assembly District 26, Republican incumbent Devin Mathis ran against Democratic candidate Drew Phelps. With all precincts reporting, Mathis received 64% of the vote. Phelps earned just under 36%. For all Congress and Assembly races, candidates will appear on the ballot this November as part of the general election. And of course, you can find all of these results on our website, turnto23.com.